thank you. Welcome back to this episode of Cooking with Kevin. I have an exciting treat with you. We have a brand new guest chef, Caitlin Radke. She is going to be coming on the show and giving us one of her favorite treats, a chocolate eclair. It is to die for. So, without more further ado, I present guest chef Caitlin.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Kev.
Yes, this is very exciting. I've heard so much about these eclairs, and so tell me more about you. So you've liked cooking. You've done like baking and different kinds of meals. And
Yeah, I'm more into desserts, obviously. So we're going to be starting with an eclair. It's a delicate treat with some vanilla pudding inside, and I like to do it a special way so you can't see the pudding. It's a surprise. So it's going to be fun, and there's a lot of vigorous beating, so you are going to be working your muscles tonight.
All right, I'm here for it. Let's get started. So, where should we start?
Okay, so first of all, we need to preheat the oven to 450 degrees. We want it to be ready so that when we have the base ready, you can just pop it in the oven. So first of all, we're going to take one of your handy dandy pans, and you're going to be adding a stick of butter, which is actually a half cup, with 1 cup water, which we have measured out here, and we're going to melt this together. And you want to bring it to a boil. Grab the spoon here.
Perfect.
While this comes to a boil, let's go ahead and get started on the vanilla pudding, because that way it can chill a little bit.
Yeah.
First of all, we got a bowl right here, and we're going to have use a box of the vanilla pudding. We want a 5-ounce package of instant. So I'll have you empty that into here.
So we don't want the heat and serve. We want instant.
We want instant.
Okay.
I've done a heat and serve. It still works, but this is so much easier. Why not?
Yeah, it takes some time out of the bread.
Yeah. So we want to do that with the milk. So we have got 2.5 cups milk.
Okay.
And we'll add to that.
Okay.
Mix that together.
Do we mix it until it's just well mixed?
Well mixed to package directions. So, according to the package, it says to whisk for 2 minutes. We have vanilla pudding from scratch, but with 2 young kids, who has the time? But
yeah, if you do want to make your vanilla pudding from scratch, remember, last season I made a banana cream pie and it used a homemade vanilla pudding mix. So you can find that on the website. And we want to give you an apron to be on the show as being a guest chef. It's a special Cooking with Kevin apron. Now you're all official.
I'm official.
Yeah.
This is so exciting.
So look at that. It's really getting thick. See how it's starting to grab on the whisk? That is perfect. So now what should we be doing?
Wow, that. Okay, so we want to take 1 cup of heavy whipping cream, and we want to whip it up so that it will until the soft peaks form, and then we'll add some stuff to that. But let's go ahead and put this. We actually do it in a separate bowl.
Okay.
So I'm going to add it to here. Okay, so I'm going to pour it in here, and now I'm going to take it over here and use an electric mixer to beat it until the soft peaks form. Okay, so that has gone to its soft peaks, but for now the butter and the water is ready, so we have to move back to this for now. So now that that's done, we want to reduce the heat to low.
Okay.
And then we want to add the flour. We want to add 1 cup flour. I'm assuming this is the flour?
Yes.
Okay. And so we will add the flour. Ooh. Go ahead and start mixing it. And I'm going to beat that really well, and the 1/4 teaspoon salt. This is the 1/4 teaspoon salt.
Yes.
Kind of spread it around here. Okay, we want to stir vigorously until it becomes like a ball, and there are no visible lumps. This is where your muscles come in handy. Look at that. Yeah, it's a little spongy looking, but it's because it's a light, fluffy dough. Perfect.
Tell me when to stop.
I think that looks about right. So let's go ahead and take it off the heat now.
Okay.
And we want to add the eggs one at a time. We're going to add 4 eggs. And I'm going to leave it up to you because this is a lot of work. You have to whip in each egg until it's fully mixed. And right now,
would it be better to use a whisk?
the only thing with that is the dough gets caught inside the whisk.
Okay.
So it will not work. So we want to add, it gets kind of hard though because this dough is kind of spongy and slick. So adding a soft egg to it, it's going to really work your biceps. See how he's incorporating it? You have to incorporate each one at a time. So it really...
What I'm kind of doing is I'm pressing the dough down into the egg, kind of kneading it in. It seems to be working.
The nice thing about how vigorous you have to beat this in is you work off some of the calories you're going to gain from eating this delectable dessert.
Yes, it's definitely not a low-calorie dessert as I can tell from all the ingredients here, but it's going to be a tasty one.
But it's good to indulge from time to time.
So while I'm beating in the rest of the eggs, we'll send it over to Tim. What do you have for us, Tim?
And welcome back to In the Know. Today I'll be talking about more of the French pastries and how and why the French are so inquisitive about their desserts and why they take so much detail in creating such elegant desserts. So the French take pride, the effort, and dedication into making these great French desserts that they make sounding desserts such as mousses, creme brulee, and a great variety of desserts that we all know the French make. They, have you ever taken pride in something that you're very special about, that you practice so much and you just love how it turns out? That's how the French are. They're so detailed oriented that they don't even like dessert hardly. They just like to make fancy desserts just for the world to see that they have that art and that talent that they're able to do, and they just want to share that with the world. And so that's very interesting that they do not really care for eating dessert as much as the world does. So the desserts in France are such a delicacy that they only were created just for the royal families, is what they originally were created for. You only find quick and easy dessert in fast food chains such as McDonald's in France. And the word dessert came from the word dessert. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's French. And it came from the word meaning clean the table. And so that's why people always see dessert coming last, but in France it actually comes before the main meal and appetizer options, and so it's different format than what we see here in America. So the French, to make their pastries and their desserts, use a lot of custards, fruits, and creams to make their special desserts that they have in mind, and so that's why they always look so creamy and richness, is because they use the tart from the fruit, the custards, and the creams. And so the French is such a great aspect to the culture. They've created so many different desserts. So Kevin is making a eclair today, and it's one of those French delicacies that they are so famous for, and you're gonna love Chef Kevin's eclair, as I know that I will when I have the opportunity to try one of his later on today in the kitchen. And I just hope you learn a little bit more about the French culture and their dessert aspect. And that, remember next time, have your dessert first before you have your entree. Right back at you, Kevin.
And welcome back. That was a workout. But as you can see, now it's more like a consistency of Play-Doh in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a spoon to get this residual stuff off the...
And I know it's tempting to want to do all 4 eggs at once, but just do not give in to the temptation because it will mess with the dough, the texture, everything.
Oops, someone is having a bad day out in the audience.
Okay, so now we'll want to take this dough over here. And I have a pastry bag without a tip or anything. I just cut a hole in the end. It doesn't really matter what size. You want it to be large enough to, you know, be a good size eclair. So about that, you know, if that's too small, we'll just clip away a little bit more. So what we're gonna do now is put this as much as you can fit comfortably into the pastry bag. You can just spoon your dough out on without a pastry bag, but this really makes it look professional. And it's nice because the dough is slick enough that it doesn't stick inside the pastry bag. It will just slide right out.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was expecting it to be all sticky going down.
That's probably you can fit a little bit more in
A
there.
little bit more?
Yeah. And we'll, perfect.
It's easier once you get dough in there. The
Yeah.
first couple spoonfuls were the most difficult. Maybe a little bit more, or
Let's go with that.
okay. So what are we
Okay,
gonna
so
do?
now we're gonna do it's little tubes. They get pretty big when
Do you wanna
they
demonstrate?
bake. Yeah. See how it's already kind of coming out. So I'm gonna make that big, and you kind of twist off the end. I made that a little bit too close together. We'll see.
They're almost like
And
donut
if,
bars.
Yeah, and if you get little weird tip like that, wing, just kind of blend it in. I'll let you do the next batch. We want to make sure that we're enough here. Ooh. Okay, so I'll let you put a little bit more in there while I kind of help shape this one. If you get your finger a little wet, it will kind of help too, just like with any dough. You can smooth it. So, you know, you want it to be nice looking, although there will be frosting on top that will hide most of the flaws.
All right. Oh, you brought a little one with you on the show here. So what's his name?
This is Samuel. He's one of your biggest fans, and he really, really wanted to come on. Oh, I would do another one right here.
Okay.
You want it there to be enough space, or else they'll, you know, they'll become one huge eclair. So yeah, let's do one more on there. And then we want to add here, and it's important to note that no cooking spray or anything like that is needed. These are, they're got the silky texture enough that they will not stick. Yeah, let's take a little
That's
bit
kinda-
of water and
Yeah, that's a cool hint. I never knew about that.
yeah.
And so then while I'm finishing up these bars, we'll send it to the comment page. Give us some suggestions. We'll be right back. And welcome back. So now we have our bars perfectly formed, ready to go in the oven. So it's at 450 degrees.
And we're going to bake it for 15 minutes at this temperature. Then we lower the temperature to 325 and bake for another 20 minutes.
All right. So should we finish
Yeah,
the
and
pudding?
while that is baking, let's go ahead and finish up the thing over there. Okay, yeah, great. Bring it right over. So we are going to be adding 1/4 cup of powdered sugar
Okay.
and 1 teaspoon of vanilla. So let's go ahead and add that to that.
All right. Well, we need the mixer.
We will beat it in. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this vanilla pudding mixture is so good that it's hard to save enough to put into the eclairs. It's really good. Wonderful. So now what we're going to do is we're going to fold the whipping cream mixture into the vanilla pudding mixture. Oh, look at that. Look at how the vanilla pudding has gotten really thick like it's pudding. So now, I'll go ahead and add the whipping cream to here. And we are going to fold it in.
Okay.
Perfect. Yes.
And so if you come look,
Yeah, come take a look at this. It's delicious looking.
see how it's kind of folding in and becomes making a smooth mixture. Okay, and what should we do next with the pudding?
We are going to refrigerate it so that it's ready to put into the eclair base.
Okay.
And then after that, we will go ahead and start the eclair frosting, which is delicious. And by then, hopefully the eclair will be done baking and we'll just be ready to go.
Great. Well, while we're putting this in the fridge, let's send it over to Brenna, who's going to do a fun segment for us. And when you come back, we'll get onto that chocolate frosting.
Bonjour! Today we're going to talk about chocolate. Did you know chocolate hit the scene in France in 1615 when Anne of Austria married King Louis XIII and on their wedding day gave him the gift of chocolate, and the chocolate hasn't left the area since. Now there are a couple tricks to melting chocolate to make the delicious treats like the eclairs that Kevin's making for us today. The first one is direct heat. When you put a heavy base saucepan on a direct heat source at about medium temperature and you stir constantly as the chocolate melts. The problem with the direct heat source is you increase the chance of scorching or burning your chocolate, which causes it to taste burnt or really bitter. The second option, which the chocolatiers came up with themselves, is the fact of a double broiler. A double broiler is where you take a pot on the bottom, add about water up to about a ½ inch from your secondary source, either using a true double broiler or you can use a glass bowl instead, and placing your chocolate inside. You bring your water to a boil first, and then let it simmer, then place the chocolate in the top container and stir it constantly. The trick here is you don't want the water to begin to boil again, otherwise you cause the chocolate to taste bitter or burn. It's the best option, but since we do live in the modern world and we do have microwaves, you can always try the microwave. The trick is don't use more than 6 ounces in the microwave. It'll tend to melt unevenly or burn. While you're warming up the chocolate, you want to warm it up only 2 minutes tops, but stopping about every 30 seconds to stir, because the chocolate will hold its form and consistency until it's been moved. It's just because of the texture and the quality of the chocolate. While you do this, make sure to constantly stir through the whole process until the chocolate is melted. It will continue to melt afterwards, so if you have a couple little chunks in there, it's okay. They'll probably end up smooth as butter. Now, when you use the chocolate afterwards, be careful. If you're dipping fruit, for instance, make sure you wash your, say, strawberries and let them dry on a paper towel or a board for a while until they're dry. Because if any moisture gets into melted chocolate, it tends to seize up and get this granularly gritty texture, which is no fun for anyone to use or eat. But as a backup, if that does happen, my trick is to add a little bit of vegetable shortening into it and it gets that smooth consistency back up. I wouldn't recommend it all the time, but if worst comes to worst, try it out. Now, whether you're a chocolatier or a novice yourself, enjoy the chocolate and bon appetit.
And welcome back. So, now we're going to do the chocolate frosting.
That's right. So right here we have some Ghirardelli, the best, semi-sweet 1 ounce squares. So we're going to use 4 of those because I actually like to double the chocolate frosting because it just never seemed enough. It felt like I ran out before I was done doing my design, so I double it. So we're going to do 4 of these.
Are we just going to lay them on the bottom of the pan?
Lay them on the bottom of the pan, and
Okay.
we're going to add that to 4 tablespoons of delicious Tillamook butter. And on low heat, we're going to melt that together.
Okay. And the reason why we're doing it on low heat is that without a double boiler, your chocolate will melt so fast it can burn it. So the double boiler if you're in a rush, but if you have the time, it's easier to do this. You don't dirty 2 dishes. So it's starting to do it. So while we're letting this continue to melt, we're heading to that new segment, the food trivia. So see if you can get this question right. And welcome back. So, this is starting to melt very nicely. You're getting all smooth. And then, are you...
Yes, what you hear is the kettle heating up some water because we want hot water to add to the frosting mixture.
About 5 tablespoons?
Well, it says 6,
officially? Okay.
but it says do it one at a time. And I found I've never used that much because you don't want your frosting too runny or else you can't frost.
Okay.
So great, so now that is blending really nicely together, we're going to add 2 cups powdered sugar.
Okay.
And then 2 teaspoons vanilla extract as well. There's the 2 teaspoons vanilla. I'll go ahead and add that. And you want to blend it, you want to mix it really well. You don't want lumps.
You can't mix it too fast, unfortunately, until the powdered sugar is well mixed in, because it's going to start flying out of the pan.
And this won't look perfect until we add the water. Okay, and we're going to turn off the heat. And see, it's never going to mix quite well because we're going to need to add the water. So we're going to add a tablespoon at a time of water.
Okay.
So start 1. Here's the first one. You'll notice the first one will do a really good job. Okay. Start with that. Definitely want to do 1 more at least.
Okay.
Add that all around. It's looking perfect. It's looking like it won't be too hard to frost with, but it will hold its form. Perfect.
So will we wait to use this and let it cool? Or?
We're gonna let it cool because we still have to pull the eclairs. We still have to cook the eclairs at the 20 minutes at the lower temperature. Then we still have to put the vanilla pudding in. So it's gonna be a while. This will have time to cool, so it won't. You know, if it's too hot, it's just gonna fall right off the eclair. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we're take it out, remove it completely from heat, let it cool, and oh look, now we are ready to lower the temperature to 325 and bake for another 20 minutes. Perfect timing.
Okay.
Excellent.
So while we're letting those finish cooking and allow these to cool, the pudding as well, we'll send it over to Julie, who has some helpful tips for the kitchen. Julie?
Hi, you get to meet my cat today. At least one of them. I have 4. This is Tiggy. Today we have a wonderful dessert segment with chocolate eclairs. And I'm going to give you some extra tips. One thing that can be helpful to have uniform size is to put down parchment paper. You're thinking, what does parchment paper have to do with uniform size? Well, you take the tip of a chocolate bar and use it like a crayon. You draw the shape and the size that you want. This will help all of them to be the same size. Now when you pipe out the dough, sometimes the dough will have a portion that has an upward tip for when you choke off the dough. You can flatten that by either using an egg white brush or just brushing the dough with just a little bit of water, and that will smooth it all out. You can also score the sides lightly with the tines of a fork, the sides and the top. The reason why you do this is it prevents cracking when baking. And my last tip, so you can always have these at any time, you can make the pastry shells in advance. Freeze it. When you take it out for later use, just let it defrost for 1 hour before putting in the filling. Bon appetit!
And welcome back. So we got these, and they are now done. They're nice and fluffy, golden brown. You'll notice when you're lifting them off that you can pretty much feel the edges going in. They're pretty much hollow.
Hollow.
It's very cool how they did that.
So look, it made a perfect dozen. So now we put the vanilla pudding mixture into this handy dandy frosting thing, and see how the tip, you want it to be able to skewer into the
So you're gonna
clear base.
stab it and inject?
I'm gonna stab it right in the middle and oops, and inject it with the vanilla pudding until it fills it up. And you can kind of tell because the eclair will almost grow, and you can tell it will start kind of coming out the sides because it's just like so full, and you
So
want
it's like
that.
when you inject your turkey on the holidays.
Yes. So we're just gonna plump it up and see. I just keep on going until it tells me that it's full, and I'm gonna make sure both sides are full. You don't want an eclair where one side, and you don't have to worry about the mess on top. Usually, we'll kind of clean that one up a little bit, but the chocolate will cover it. It will cover up these flaws. I guess you can. Okay, well, since Sam has joined us again, I'm gonna pass it off to you. This one, maybe do a little bit more in there. Yeah, and you just push until it starts showing evidence that it's just completely full. Yeah, try doing both sides. We want to make sure that it's just plump. There we go. It's kind of fun injecting it.
So while I'm finishing this, we'll send it to the answer to that cooking question. Let's see what you got. And did you get it right? Great if you did. I try to pick trivia questions that are practical and actually help you become better cooks in the kitchen. So look for that in the next episode. Now we'll get this frosted here. So
Yeah, Kevin, you did a wonderful job pumping them up, so you can see a little bit of the vanilla pudding kind of popping out of each of them. Now we're going to take the chocolate frosting, which we put into a decorative bag, and you're going to do, I like to do a little design where it's like a snaking, and you want to cover up, you know, keep it close.
Should probably make sure I'm holding the base here.
I could demonstrate on the first one for you. I'm going to give it a little bit more leeway, but you're doing good. Yeah, stretch it out.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can always, you know, add on to the end like that. Let's do it a little bit more here to kind of fix that. Yeah. There we go.
Okay.
So like that. Even keep it a little bit tighter if possible. Yeah.
This reminds me of
Beautiful.
like frosting donuts or something.
Yes. Well, you want there to be, this frosting is to die for. You want there to be enough, but not too much. And I like how it covers up the entry point of the vanilla pudding injection.
Now, what if we run out of frosting?
If we run out, that's just too bad. Then I usually just make more. But this should be enough. Yeah, you're getting the hang of it. Look at that. Job. And if I find I have a little bit extra, I just go back and kind of fill in some spots that may need it.
Let's make sure. You may occasionally need to kind of push back some of the frosting in. Alright.
Perfect. Excellent.
It's gonna be a close one.
It's gonna be close, but I think we're gonna have just enough. So isn't it a good thing we doubled it? Perfect, yeah.
I'll fill in these little gaps here.
Good idea. Oopsie.
Yeah, perfect.
Good. Perfect. And maybe just a little bit more on the end here.
Okay.
Yeah. Perfect. And maybe add a little bit more to that one right over here. You don't want to shortchange anybody. Oops.
That's not one to stick
There we
there.
go. That's okay.
All right.
Maybe add a little bit more to this one.
Okay.
Oops. Keep with the design here. There we go. Perfect. And look how just yummy these look, but they're also really pretty. They're great at get-togethers for dessert after a fancy dinner. I even like to serve them at baby showers, at bridal showers, because they're just really fancy and they're cute and they taste really, really good.
Would you recommend having them in the fridge for a while before
Yes.
you serve them? Let
I
them
would.
sit?
Apple eclairs, typically you think of them cold, but obviously, if they're sitting out a while at a party, they're going to be fine, a little bit warm, but
More
yeah, I
runny,
do
of
prefer-
course, probably if they're
Yeah,
sitting
they are.
out.
Because the vanilla pudding need to be, don't leave them sitting out all day long because the vanilla pudding needs to be refrigerated. So, but yeah, look at that. You did a great job.
Perfect. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing this recipe. And as always, all of these recipes can be found at our website, located right below on the bottom of the screen here. And next week, look forward to the return of the Fireside Chat. We're bringing back that episode that was a big hit last season. So be sending in some questions that you would like me to answer on the show. And I look forward to seeing you for the next episode. As always, keep cooking with Kevin.